Let's see. Can you guys hear us now?
Hearing?
I bet you they can hear us now.
Yeah, maybe. Do they even want to hear our noise?
Yeah, sure. Why not? They'll have to tune back for those gold first 2 minutes that they have missed.
Right.
That's all right. So yeah, Chris Geiger's in the chat. I think it's the first time he's been in the chat.
Is he related to HR Geiger?
I think so. I think it's his cousin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Speaking of Chris, he actually just sent me a photo right before the stream started.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. That's me in a Speedo during my high school years as a water polo player.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna blow this up.
I was in the best shape of my life.
I'm gonna blow.
I was in the best shape of my life right there.
I'm gonna blow this up so you guys can see, so you can see Tyler.
No, please.
As Tyler in his Speedo, signed by Tyler himself.
Yeah. One of the greatest accomplishments of my life is autographing a photograph
of you in nary a Speedo.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, it's what was that for again?
I'm sorry?
What was that for again? It was like
for water polo?
No. Why did we give Chris the signed signature of you in your Speedo?
You know what? I don't remember. I can't recall.
I think it was a perk. Like we had, like once you reach a year on the cool ass yard duty, you get to come on the show or a free merch piece or something like that. Yeah. And he's like, how about I want an autographed picture of Tyler in nude.
Yeah. Well, you keep that, Chris. It's going to be valuable in about 80 something years.
Yeah, that's right. So anyways, welcome, Tyler. Welcome back.
Yes, I'm glad to be back in the studio. I'm surprised Joseph isn't here. If he is.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I started that conversation, then I forgot we had no audio. So
he's at the finish line of the continental U.S. and so he's not here. He couldn't haul his way over here to spin some noise with us.
Well, he's back, but who knows what sort of creepy
state of mind he's
creepy
in.
crawly viruses and bugs are all inside and outside
That's
of him.
True.
And his wife.
I don't know anything.
Every photo that Joseph sent to the group chat, or no, he's never in them. He's always behind the camera.
Oh yeah, that's true. He's a photographer.
Yeah, but no, every photo was like, there's more human beings in one square yard of New York City than I've ever seen in my life.
I mean,
it's like Coachella there all the time.
I do want to visit New York City, but at the same time, geez,
I'm into it if it was like pre-pandemic. But we're surging in California right now.
Yeah,
COVID's on the rise, baby.
Yeah, the 19 is taking its storm again.
So he probably actually just took COVID there instead of bringing it back.
Maybe so.
So anyways, that's enough of that. Let's get into some Gab and Chatter.
Find some charity, ye lad. Now's the time for Gab and Chatter.
Gab and Chatter, movie news of the week. Tyler, lead us off.
Okay, so the San Diego Comic-Con has come and gone.
Yeah.
And Harrison Ford made an appearance.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is coming from...
Grumpy Ford. He's in his grumpy phase. Yeah, he has been for some time now.
Well-deserved, though.
Yeah.
Well-deserved.
Oh, he earned it, for sure.
Yeah.
I think most old men, they deserve to be creepy, weird old guys.
I mean, he's...
Not creepy, but weird.
I don't know about creepy, but like
he's saying shit that doesn't make any sense.
He's a weird guy, but like that's an endearing statement. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like, oh no, that guy's weird. Like no, like he worked really hard in Hollywood for a very decades, and he's played iconic roles as
he used to sell drugs.
Did he?
Yeah, he was like I can't remember. I think they said on the set of Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Mm-hmm. I can't remember who it was, but they're like, "Hey, I know that guy. He used to sell me weed."
I don't doubt it because he's known to be a stoner. So Harrison Ford, he made an appearance at the San Diego Comic-Con because he's going to be starring in a new MCU movie. It's the new Captain America movie, Captain America 4.
Starring?
Well, I don't think he's starring, but he's going to be a pivotal part.
He's playing Captain America? It's a weird choice.
Nothing would make me happy.
They should have just had him as old Captain America instead of de-aging Chris Evans.
Yes.
No, I don't think I will.
So Harrison Ford says Red. So he's playing the Red Hulk. Now I don't know. I don't know anything about like Hulk lore or anything Marvel. I'm mostly into Batman.
You don't listen to the Hulk lore podcast?
Oh, there's a podcast.
Yeah, it's hosted by Dax Shepard. No.
Are you pulling my chain?
I'm yanking your chain.
Okay. So Harrison Ford says he's going to be playing Red Hulk in the new Captain America movie. And he says it's required not caring and being an idiot for money, which I have done before. However, he follows up with it saying, I don't mean to disparage it.
Yeah.
And so, yes, Harrison Ford is going to be playing the Red Hulk in the new Captain America movie.
That's such a weird choice.
Well, I mean, so I agree with you because he's so old.
He's so old. This guy with his old balls.
So when I was reading this article, I was thinking about like our conversation about Ridley Scott and Clint Eastwood.
Lee Scott. Sorry.
Lee Scott. I was thinking about Lee Scott and Clint Eastwood and how like they're really up there, but they're still doing work. But they're in a director's position rather than Harrison Ford. He's in an acting position, which requires a lot more physical movement.
Yeah.
Like you can't just be sitting in a chair and like eyeing like a camera like, okay, yeah, this shot's good. Maybe if you can do it right here. But no, he's like actually like in mocap and acting like a Hulk, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
The fact that he has the energy to do that, because if you think about Harrison Ford's fortune that he's accumulated over the years of being in an entertainment industry, he doesn't have to work. Like he doesn't have to do anything.
I mean,
he could just sit in his palatial estate and
in a nice recliner from IKEA,
and
or on his budget, Scandinavian Designs.
Exactly.
Tyler, get on that mic.
So I was thinking to myself, you know, good for Harrison Ford for having the energy and the motivation to still work. I mean,
I would not.
I was. Neither would I. That's what I was thinking.
Then again, how much of that is work, especially mocap?
Well, I mean, you're still moving around. Like, I mean, think about like if you're
talking about like versus your job. Harrison Ford couldn't deliver packages in the Sacramento heat.
I'm sure he would find a way.
No, he would not. No, his frail, crippled old body. His bones are turning to dust with each.
That package deserves to be on a porch.
That might be the top 10 funniest things you said on the show.
But I commended him for it because after Dial of Destiny, I thought that was it. He reprised his role as Indiana Jones. He did a really good job, and I thought that a lot of people disparaged Dial of Destiny.
It was good. I thought it was cool.
I thought it was all right. I thought it was good, and I thought it was a really. I mean, I think Last Crusade was the best send off for Indiana Jones. However, I mean, you know,
when are we getting the Phoebe Waller-Bridge spinoff?
I hope soon because I really like her.
I could hope she's fine. She's fine. I was expecting a lot more.
Look, I just want you to stop saying odd shit. So he goes on to say, I don't mean to disparage it, as in because when he said, yeah, I don't care. You have to be stupid to make money. And I think I get what he's saying. I think what he's saying is...
Dance is what he's saying.
He's saying, you know, I'm just doing this for fun. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether or not... I don't need the money. Like, this seemed like a fun project. He doesn't need, like, a manager, like an acting manager or anything like that. Like, he doesn't need an acting coach. Well, if you're gonna slap Harrison Ford's name on a movie, people are gonna go and watch it. And I think obviously he's in the twilight of his life, and so he just wants to have fun. And there hasn't been like any criticisms towards him saying that like you have to be stupid and stuff like that or not care. I think it was just more for himself.
Well,
I
think that if he
relinquished like his, you know,
he's taking off his serious hat. He's putting a silly hat on.
Right.
Which I mean, he's doing some comedic stuff now. There's that show he's on Apple TV with Jason Segel. It's called Shrinking, I think, because they're shrinks. They're all like
I think it's called Shrinking.
Yeah, really funny, and he's good in it too. He plays a grumpy old bastard, but he also is funny at the same time.
Yeah, so I think who is it? Anthony Mackie, who is directing. So it's Captain America.
Anthony Mackie's directing.
Captain America: Brave New World. Yeah, I think it is.
Okay. It's coming out next year, it says here.
Yeah, in February. And
Anthony Mackie, the director, Julius Ona. Anthony Mackie he used to play Iron Man or Captain America. I don't know if they're continuing the Captain America thing now, but I don't know this person, Julius Ona.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't...
Tyler, did you just see this picture of this guy and think that it's Anthony Mackie? Come on, Tyler, be better. Do better. He directed The Cloverfield Paradox, Loose, don't know what that is. The Girls in Trouble. Yeah, I haven't seen. Ooh, Avicii, a music video for Avicii, Broken Arrows.
Oh, nice.
Captain America 4 in good hands.
Yeah. So basically everyone was saying like he was a huge motivator on set and that they were very happy to have Harrison Ford on there. And I'm looking at a picture right here on the screen that you have pulled up right now, and he does not look his age.
How old is he?
Oh, shoot.
He doesn't look how old he is, but I don't know how old that is.
Hold on. Let me Let me look it up.
Let me address what Angry Otter said in the chat. Said, didn't he break his break his leg in this new Star Wars movie when he did the one where he gets killed by his son?
Yeah, it was his ankle. No, he's 82 years old. He does not he does not look 82.
You're right. He doesn't look his age. He looks good.
He does not look 82. And so I guess the point of the story was that I'm glad that he's being honest, like, with his career, that he's saying, yeah, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm just going to do this because it sounds fun. I have the energy to work. I want to work. It's not about the money. It's just about having fun. And I really respect that with the older actors who have, like, made a name for themselves. It's kind of like Kurt Russell, like, doing The Hateful Eight, or, you know, Sam Jackson doing any of the movies that he does. Like, he's already an established name. Like, everyone already has their legacy. Like, they have generational wealth, but they're doing it for the work.
Yeah, any aged actor, really, it doesn't. They could stop acting at any time.
Exactly. And so I was thinking about that after I read that article, because I kind of got the impression that he felt bad about saying, oh, I don't care, like, this is just stupid.
Yeah.
But then he follows up saying, I'm not disparaging it. I'm just saying, like, I'm in a position where I can do these projects without caring. Yeah. And I think that's a really, like, it's a really self-aware thing that I appreciate.
And he did break his leg when he on this.
It was his leg.
It was his leg. Yeah, there's a number of injuries, but a hydraulic door came down on his like ankle and ended up breaking his leg. They said he could have been killed. They were fined $2 million. The production company was.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm glad you think that's funny, Tyler. One of your heroes was almost bludgeoned by a blunt guillotine.
I don't know why I find that. I can just imagine him like screaming, "Oh my God, my leg! Get this thing off of me!"
I think Harrison Ford maybe said something like this.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, great. All right, so my story. Let's see here. Let me get to this. I got Larry David pictures for each one of these screens for Joseph. So continuing the MCU train of conversation of news stories.
Yeah.
They had a fantastic reveal to who was going to be playing Doctor Doom in the upcoming Avengers Doomsday movie.
Right.
This is the new Avengers movie Doomsday.
Yeah.
And I think this is supposed to be an origin story of Doctor Doom. I assume so. I mean, we'll see. But everyone's kind of clamoring, oh, who's it going to be? Because Jonathan Majors was going to be the next big bad, right? He's going to be Kang the Conqueror. And he was in Ant-Man Quantumania, was revealed to Kang the Conqueror. And he was like this multiple versions of himself. They all have different, look similar. They're all played by Jonathan Majors, but they're, from different dimensions. So they look different and act different or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, cool. He could ride that out forever. And then he decided to beat up his girlfriend in public. And now he can never work again. Yeah. So he showed his ass, as they say. So anyways, at the San Diego Comic-Con, they had this whole thing that they're going to reveal who's going to be the Doctor Doom, and they rolled out this like great like WWE style event where they had all these dudes and dressed up as Doctor Doom on the stage with the mask on, and one of them comes forward and he pulls his mask and it's fucking Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. They
killed Iron Man.
Yeah.
And they finally added stakes to the MCU universe. I know that's redundant. Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
They added stakes. Iron Man died, never to return. Robert Downey Jr. wins Best Supporting Actor for Oppenheimer. And in his speech, he says, you know, thank you to whoever it was that told me to get out of my shell and make a movie that matters. Basically, essentially, without saying so, basically saying, you know, I'm done doing Marvel movies. Yeah. I'm going to make important movies now. I'm going to be a serious actor now. And they
Hey, do you want $30 million?
3?
Said $30 million?
Yeah, I want to say it's something like that. It's like 30 million or 50 million or something like that. It might even be more than that, but
it probably is.
I mean, I think he probably was a big part of the secret sauce that made the MCU in that generation. Really like sing why those movies were so popular, because he's legitimately charismatic and he's a very good actor.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think he did incredible as Tony Stark, Iron Man.
Tony Stark and Iron Man.
Well, yeah.
Have you ever seen Tony Stark and Iron Man at the same place at the same time?
You know what? I don't know.
Yeah, so that's who they replaced. So they replaced Jonathan Majors not as Kang, but as the big bad that they're going to hang their entire franchise on. Mm-hmm. And people are very divided about this, mostly confused, mostly like, you had the out. You could have left gracefully. You could have moved on to other things. And he decided to come back and take that paycheck and do the Marvel again.
I mean, yeah, I've seen some theories about how it's going to be a Tony Stark that turns into a Doctor Doom sort of story.
Well, yeah, that's a beautiful thing about comic books, is you can have multiple timelines, you can have multiple universes.
It doesn't matter. You can retcon anything.
You can have the Batman that doesn't go down on the first date. You can have the Batman that does nothing but eat poon, you know? Even though the researchers say that Batman doesn't do that.
No.
Yes, he does.
No.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Her name is Catwoman, after all. Anyways.
Speaking of Catwoman, shout out to Angie.
Is that your nickname for her? Catwoman?
She's Catwoman.
She's Catwoman, okay. This is creepy. Hi, Angie. But Heather has a great point, and this is what a lot of people have said in the chat. She says, I don't know why they didn't just replace Majors with a different actor for Kang. Pretty sure we could have figured that out. Which is absolutely. They already did it. There's precedent within the MCU. They replaced Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle for Rhodey. The first Iron Man, it was Terrence Howard, and Terrence Howard's like, I need more money. And they're like, fuck off, we'll get Don Cheadle.
Yeah. Cheadle is like, all right, I need work.
I'll take my break from doing a Cockney accent for Ocean's 11. I'll come to your movie. So I thought that was just a very, very strange turn of events. And I don't think it's strange for like, how do they keep the continuity? Because that is a good, valid option. A universe in which Tony Stark is not turned for good.
I mean, they already introduced like a multiverse in the MCU, so
sure. I mean, yeah,
why not?
It could very easily, it could go down that path, and you had all the standards come back. But I just thought that was one of the more strange things to happen in the Marvel universe.
I was very surprised, and then it kind of also got me thinking as well. Do we need more Marvel movies, because they have like an onslaught of shows on Disney Plus?
I think that in the Comic-Con they also said they're going to be limiting the amount of content. It's going to be like maybe 1 or 2 shows a year.
Okay.
And one or 2 movies a year, which I don't believe that, but
So I mean it's kind of a double-edged sword, because in the comic book world, like with like actual physical comics, like there is a lot of ire with people who read comics about the retconning of certain like storylines, because there's just so much of it. Like it gets produced so much, and it's a lot to keep up with. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess if you're a fan of that, of course, like you're gonna eat it up.
Yeah.
But for myself, I think about the original run of like the Avengers and the Infinity War like era of Marvel movies. That felt like an event.
Sure.
Like that was
because you're leading up to it. They're like, this movie's going to come out a year and a half from now. Get ready. And there was not a ton of spin-offs. I mean, there was a couple, but
but you didn't have to pay attention to it. But as far as like going to the movies, it was every time like a new Avengers movie came out, it was an event.
Yeah.
And so now what they're trying to do with this whole like Doctor Doom and this new Captain America movie, it feels like old hat, you know, because we got between from End War to now, we've gotten incredible amounts of original IPs that are a lot more interesting than the comic book movies. I think the comic book movies like were sort of like a coping mechanism with how the world was going.
I just think the bottom line is that oversaturation is never a good thing.
Right.
It's like, I love King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, the band.
Oh my God, they put out so much.
But when they put out 5 albums in 1 year, I start getting into one, and then the next one comes out, and you're like, I'm still vibing on the last one, bro.
Yeah.
Give me a minute to play it out.
So I mean, like there's always going to be those like fanatics who are obsessed with like comic book movies and stuff. But you know, the one comic book movie that I really, really hope that gets made is the Spawn movie. We didn't see any.
We talked about that last week.
We talked about it last week, but I was hoping that we would get some more information because of Comic-Con that happened in San Diego. But alas, still in the dark.
So that's that. And then lastly, I just wanted to bring up an interaction that I had with one of our faithful listeners, Binge Lord Dan. Binge Lord Dan. Dan
the man.
Yeah, that's right. Perhaps.
Oh, wait, really?
They have. He commented on Twitter and made a post that he was watching. No One Will Save You. No one will save you. The alien movie, the silent alien movie, no dialogue that we did the episode on.
Yeah.
Is that streaming on Hulu?
Yeah.
Brian Duffield, I believe, is the writer-director. And he said, oh yeah, watching based off of Pete's recommendation, tagged me in it. And there were some conversations with Heather, you know, this and that. And then he added also, Dan 1, Tyler 0.
Why?
And I said, what is that? Is this the streaming pick recommendation tally? He said, yes, technically it's 2, but I would have watched the creator regardless. So he's basically saying if he watches a movie based off of our recommendation on the show, he's adding it to his tally. And you're now competing against Binge Lord Dan. As you're self-proclaimed that you said yourself you'd watch our streaming picks.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I did do that.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I guess let's get right into it then.
Movies.
Want to watch a movie?
Yes, I do.
Disney Plus, HBO Max.
If I don't get the pick, show's over.
I have grown accustomed to Hulu Plus.
Amazon Prime.
I like Netflix.
You found the pick.
Streaming picks. Movies that we watch on our streaming services this week that you can watch on yours too. Tyler, lead us off.
Okay. So
Get ready, Dan.
I want to...
Get your pencil out.
I want to apologize to our classmates and to my host.
Okay.
I told everyone that the Batman Cape Crusader was coming out in September, but I was pleasantly surprised that it came out on August 1st.
Oh, cool.
And so I watched the first episode of it. It's fantastic. The Penguin's a woman in this show.
Oh, interesting.
She's hot.
Batman's gone woke.
Yeah, a lot of people are not happy about it. I thought it was really awesome.
They could shut up.
The introduction to the woman penguin was just phenomenal. The animation is great. The new voice for the Batman, I mean, rest in peace, Kevin Conroy.
Do you think it's weird that they call her the woman penguin? Isn't that kind of weird?
I guess
Every time she's referenced, they're like, "Oh my gosh, here comes the woman penguin."
Well, I mean, that I don't think that's ever been done before in the Batman franchise. So yeah, you're gonna say, "Oh, it's the girl penguin."
It's the girl penguin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop right there, girl penguin.
Oh no, but she's a fox.
Of course she is.
So I didn't watch the whole series.
Why can't they make her an Uggo? What's wrong with that? Do they all have to be foxes?
Well, I mean, some people might argue against me. I have a very weird, specific taste.
Is she Helena Bonham Carter in Fight Club?
No, she's a little bit more seductive.
Okay, I'm gonna try to find pictures of the girl penguin.
Yeah, do it. So check that out on Amazon Prime. Batman Cape Crusader. It's a little bit more of a.
I looked up girl penguin and it's just a bunch of like animated. Is it this one?
Yeah, it's that one.
This
It's
one
that one right there. Yeah.
All right, hold on a second. Here we go.
But you gotta watch. That's the image doesn't do it enough justice. But she's a fox.
All right.
Busty too.
That's all Tyler cares about.
That's right. Yeah, you know my womanizing ways.
Yeah, that's right. Hold on, before you move on, we gotta look at this girl penguin here.
All right.
Let me see if I can get it on the screen. All right, here we go. Yeah, dude. That's what's up. Love it. I like that they kept her in the top hat and stuff. They didn't try to make her like a
Yeah.
She's like in a bikini or something.
She runs like a riverboat casino, and
sick.
She does like a whole number, like she dances and she flirts with all the cops that go there. It's great stuff.
Heather says I have a varied, weird, specific taste. Is a new T-shirt idea for Tyler fans. I like it.
Heather.
I like it. I think it's great.
It tracks with me.
Okay, continue.
But I did watch a streaming pick that you recommended.
All right.
2024's Love Lies Bleeding. Or Love Lies Bleeding. Not Loves. Love Lies Bleeding. So I'm going to read my review on Letterboxd. I don't know if you have that sound.
Oh, yeah, hold on a second. We haven't played that in a minute.
Tyler reads his own Letterboxd reviews. This is me, myself, and Tyler.
Yeah, Love Lies Bleeding, 2024. I rated this 2.5 stars.
Okay.
So it goes like this. For most of the movie, it had me going. I was really into the story and the character development and the shadow cloaking the two main characters. However, the ending really fell flat for me. It edged me and then walked away.
Not in the good way.
I think there was a great idea there, but it just wasn't fleshed out.
Okay.
Regardless, I had a great time watching this movie and I was not bored. Stewart's character really killed it. Grade B, end of report.
You gave it a B, 2.5 stars.
Yeah, so I really liked the beginning of this movie. Like until it got to the end, I wasn't into it. Like I won't get into spoilers or anything like that. But I think the premise of it was really there. Especially because the bodybuilder girl, she didn't really have any acting experience. So she really did well as far as this being like one of her
Katie O'Brien.
Yeah. For this being one of her like first like major debuts. And I thought the movie looked really good, but once they got into like the supernatural stuff, it lost me.
You realize that wasn't actually there. It's a metaphor.
I understand that. That was not lost on me.
I hate metaphors.
That wasn't lost on me. However, I feel like it was unnecessary.
Yeah. There's filmmakers that use subtext. We call them cowards.
You coward.
Coward. Tell me exactly how to feel.
Yeah, exactly.
I want everything literal.
That's what I wanted from this movie, though, is like I wanted everything to be just like gritty, based into reality, not going into like some metaphorical scenes.
You know, it's an A24 movie.
I know it is. But still, I think the first half of the movie is really great. I wish they focused more on the journey to get to the bodybuilding competition rather than what transpires like afterwards, because I feel like there was something there was something going towards the journey of getting to the competition, and then they just completely took a left turn onto something completely different, which I was fine with in the beginning of it.
So you wanted the straight ahead story about the bodybuilding competition, not the noir sort of slammy underbelly of the small town.
Yeah, because it kind of muddied up the waters a little bit.
Interesting.
It was leading up to, okay, so of course there's going to have to be a conflict to get to that competition. And they did that, but then they kind of veered off a little bit too much into the conflict rather than it being like I said, like a shadow cloaking over the two main characters.
You wanted like a road trip movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping for. Yeah, Kristen Stewart just was.
She's great, huh? She's
incredible.
She's getting better and better every movie I see her in.
She was incredible.
Do you want to be crushed now? I could definitely use a good crushing.
Yeah, I don't. It would scare me.
I don't want to. Okay, that's
I,
why you didn't like the movie.
I don't want to live in fear.
You don't want a strong, powerful woman.
Well, no.
Tyler wants to be able to dominate his women.
That's not true at all. Your words, not mine. But I would be afraid of that woman.
She's frightening.
Like, because
in a good way.
Like the kill scene was incredibly violent. And I really liked it because it just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, I actually, no, it doesn't come out of nowhere, but like the visceralness of it comes out of nowhere.
It's shocking.
And
did you see Saint Maud?
I think I tried to watch it, but I didn't finish it.
Okay.
Or anything.
That's a little bit of a divisive one. Joseph absolutely loves it. I thought it was a pretty good it was a great looking movie that left me wanting more, but it was same director, writer.
Is that
Rose Glass?
Oh yeah. Same
great name.
Yeah, I definitely did try to watch it, and I got bored of it pretty quickly. So
Tyler, when you're wearing rose-colored glasses, red flags just look like flags, baby.
I love that. I've never heard of that before. Did you just make that up on the fly?
No, I can't remember what that's from.
Oh well. But yeah, so I watched that. That was good, and then the Cape Crusader. And I feel like I watched something else.
True Detective season 1, last half.
Oh yeah, well, we'll get into that, which I can't wait.
All right, cool.
Yeah, that's all I got for this week.
All right. I'll ask in the chat. We never asked this before, but we're actually running good on time. We're a little bit of ahead on time. Huh? Anybody in the chat have any streaming picks they want to say? While I read mine, I'll shout yours out a little between my streaming picks or at the very end. So if you want recommend something, put it in the chat and I'll read it out to everybody. Okay, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go worst.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go worst to best. It's hard because my first two movies have the same rating and they're so different. They're very different. So first up, and I'll just go in since it's a tie on the ratings. They're both 4-star movies in my opinion. Hi Angie. Angie's in the chat.
Angie.
Yeah. In my opinion, this is the one I liked the least out of the two 4-star movies, and it is Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven. Kingdom of Heaven. Have you heard of this one, Tyler?
Yes.
What do you know about it?
I've seen it before.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's forgettable.
I could see how this would be a forgettable movie because it's just a lot going on. It's a really expansive story, but it stars. It's on streaming on Stars if you want to find it. I bought the Blu-ray so I could get the director's cut. Greg Sirstavasti of Cinematics says that the chasm between the theatrical release and the director's cut is so big. This is one of the few movies where the director's cut absolutely saves what would have been a mediocre movie. And I watched the director's cut.
Okay.
And I did like it. I thought it was very good. It's a very long spanning story. It was 3 hours long, but it used all its time. You're not dragging around watching people stare at the wall for no reason. It's constantly moving forward towards this very long spanning story. I feel like Ridley Scott has improved a lot on his focused character nuance later in his career because, like The Last Duel,
I was gonna say like last
that
duel.
last duel is it's you feel so much from the character's perspective, and this movie seems more like a spectacle in comparison, where it's not like a character study. It's like, look at the awesome story of this expansive universe.
Right.
And basically it's Orlando Bloom, he's the main character. Also Ava Green, Jeremy Irons, David Thewlis, Edward Norton, Liam Neeson for a minute, Brendan Gleeson. There's so many big names in this.
Yeah, star-studded cast.
Yeah. And basically Orlando Bloom is he's a blacksmith, and his wife dies at the beginning of the movie, and he essentially goes into like the Holy War, into the Crusades.
Yeah.
And he goes to Jerusalem and fights for whatever he's fighting for. So it's a very interesting story. It's very well acted. A couple times I felt it was a little bit cheesy, but ultimately it's a really fantastic scope on the story. So The Kingdom of Heaven, if it sounds...
When did that come out?
This is 2005. So
okay.
Few years after Gladiator.
Yeah.
Where Lee Scott had already cemented his name as like this period piece sort of epic director.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I don't know what the studio made him cut it to us. Maybe they just didn't want 3 hours. They made him cut an hour out of it or something like that. But the original cut on it is significantly shorter, and apparently, by all accounts, is terrible.
So the director's cut, you would say, is the superior.
I've never seen the first one, but I've heard it's far superior. But it's 3 hours.
Okay.
So if you want to dive into that, I don't know where you can find the director's cut versus the original one. But if you're looking for the director's cut, it's 3 hours. This is the one that I watched is fucking 3 hours long.
God damn.
So, and then the next one, the next 4-star movie that I watched, the FP2 Beats of Rage. This is the follow-up to the FP, the movie we covered on the show about the Dance Dance Revolution fighting competition.
Yeah.
Set in a somewhat futuristic, maybe future. I don't know if it even is futuristic or not, or if that's just the way that...
Or just modern day.
Yeah, this is just modern day Fraser Park. But this is also set in Fraser Park, California, the mountain town of Fraser Park. And in Beats of Rage, we pick up with J-Tro living in the shadow of basically his fallen brother, Betro, who died at the beginning of the FP1, the first FP.
The first FP.
Yeah, the first Fraser Park one. And this movie objectively is a better made movie on all accounts.
Okay.
Than the first one. I think it loses a little bit of the rough the rough edges, a little bit, not much, but just a little. And they dropped all the casual use of the N-word, which is great because that was the one thing that that was
a little bit much.
I'm all for autistic expression, and they really are like they fought for that in the first one, and they did it. And say what you will about all that, it's hard to watch at times, but once you settle into that universe and you're like, yeah, these people are all pieces of shit. This is something they would say. Okay. We understand now. Yeah. But they lose that in the second one.
Oh, okay. That's good.
They do say ninja a lot though, so maybe there's a substitution there.
Yeah.
But there's actual ninjas in the story, so I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. But in this one, there's like a Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat. Shao Kahn is
yeah.
It's Shao Kahn, right?
Shao Lane? I thought it was Shao Lane.
No, it's Shao Kahn.
Shao Kahn.
Yeah, he's played by the same guy from the Night Stalker killer from Cobra. Same guy in that movie. Anyways, is it Shang Tsung? It's Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung. Those are the two bad guys in Mortal Kombat.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually like a little cross between the two of them because the main bad guy in FP2 Beats of Rage is called what's it called? His name is AK-47.
Oh yeah, AK-47. Yeah.
How do you know that?
How could you forget? You said it in the first one.
No, in the second one.
Oh
no,
I thought. No, for some reason I thought
that character is not in the first one. This is a new bad guy.
Okay, it's a new bad guy.
His name is AK-47. He speaks Spanish, but he's a white guy.
For some reason, I thought there was a character named AK-47 in the first one.
No, his name is LWE in the first one.
Oh, okay.
The bad guy.
I knew it was some sort of numerical name.
Yeah. So AK-47 is the bad guy in this. He wears like cowboy boots with a long extension on the front, so like the tip goes all the way out.
Oh yeah.
And like bull horns on his shoulders for like shoulder pads, and he has a big blue like handprint on his face, and he speaks Spanish all the time, even though he's a white guy. And when he 187 someone, when they lose the battle, they fall down on the step pad of the Beat Revolution game and get electrified, and he sucks their soul out. He steals their soul and kills them. So it's like it's turned much more magical in the second one, much more ridiculous. There's a great montage where the ghost of Beatro talks to J-Tro. And then J-Tro meets his father, and his father trains him to come up and fight. And there's some gender inclusion messaging here too, because they say, "Man, women never do beat. Women never do beat off." He's like, it's like women are this time. This woman does. This woman beats off for sure. And then she goes in the competition, and everyone's like, "Man, there's a girl out there. That's crazy," you know. And it's like it is. If you don't know what the FP is, and you're like, what the fuck is Pete talking about?
That sounds like a fun time.
Look up the FP trailer just to get an idea of what it is. It's like Demolition Man mixed with Astron 6 style filmmaking. So like the guys that did like Manborg and Psycho Gorman.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they would be good friends with Jason Trost in real life, J-Tro, the real life J-Tro. And maybe even like the guys that did Kung Fury, because it's like it's very much that like low budget friends making movies with each other energy that all of those productions have together. So that's FP2 Beats of Rage, that is streaming on
Beats of Rage,
Tubi, Roku, Hoopla, Fubo, Filmzy, and Vudu. And it's the second one turned into an Australian production. And I'm not 100% sure. I think maybe J-Tro like married a woman from Australia in real life. And because I got the 4-movie set from Umbrella Entertainment, that's an Australian like physical media company, and they have, and I'm like, why did this Australian company have the rights to FP? Fraser Park, California. It's set in Fraser Park, California. Why does this Australian company have this? And then a couple of the characters have thick Australian accents in this one, where they didn't in the first one. So I think that maybe he moved his home base to Australia, relocated or something like that. So anyways, that's the FP2. Watch that if you dare. All right, next one up. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because I watched it. I've talked about it before when it first came out. It's called Brian and Charles from 2022, streaming on Stars, but it's a $4 rental pretty much everywhere you get your normal rentals. And this is a fucking charming ass movie. This is the type of movie that if you are having a bad day and you need a little bit of a decompression, go watch Brian and Charles. It is so fucking delightful. It is a story of Brian, an aspiring inventor in England, in rural England, and he makes all kinds of goofy inventions. Like he's trying to make at the beginning of the movie, it's like shot like a documentary. So he's talking to the camera crew, and they're interviewing him about, his inventions and stuff. And he's like, I know that my inventions aren't for everybody. I'll just make it for myself. Whatever makes me happy. I'm just kind of lonely out here, way out in the country. And he like makes a rocket bike, and it's like just a bicycle with like a trash can on the back that's got steam coming out of it. And he's like, I wonder what it'd be like to fly. Never flied before, And you're like, that fucking thing's not gonna fly.
No.
And he like takes off down the road, and it catches on fire, and he has to put it out. It's just kind of like
quirky.
Rod Kimball from Hot Rod, Andy Samberg's character from Hot Rod.
Oh, okay.
He's a stunt man.
Yeah.
But he never lands any stunts.
Yeah.
This guy's an inventor, but all his inventions suck ass. But he's very sweet, he's very kind, and he decides to invent a robot. He finds a pile of trash on the road one day, on the side of the road that someone dumped, and he finds a washing machine box, giant washing machine box, and a mannequin head from like a cosmetology school of an old man. And he takes him home and he goes, I think I'll make myself a robot. And he makes a robot, and the robot comes to life, and it's fully sentient with a working brain.
Wow. And
like comes out, and in the reality, in the movie, it's just a guy with a big box on his body with a shirt and a cardigan stretched over it, and the mannequin head on top. And he speaks with like a Stephen Hawking type voice.
Hello.
Kind of. It's like, You built my body, Brian.
You built my body, Brian.
Yeah. You are my friend, Brian. I'm your friend, right, Brian? And it's like pre-programmed words, but it's not as digital as a Stephen Hawking voice. But it's definitely like specific inputs to, make a sound. It's very, very, very sweet, very, very funny.
Sounds very wholesome.
And super wholesome. Yeah, super wholesome. This is like in the same vein as like Marcel the Shell, where it's just a wholesome dump of awesome wholesomeness.
Or like Eagle versus Shark kind of vibe.
Yeah, a little bit like that. A little bit like that. And there's some dark stuff near the end, but I'd say it's even more wholesome than that. And, if you don't like this type of comedy, you'll know within 10 minutes whether or not you're going to enjoy it or not. I love this. First time I watched it, easy 5-star movie. I watched it. I got a screener for it. I watched it blind, didn't know anything about it. And I watched it in bed. Brianna and I watched it together. And we were both just by the end, we're just in such a great
glowing
mood. Just a great mood. Yeah. The lovemaking was glorious that night.
And you had to bring that up.
It's glowing. And, but I fell asleep on this rewatch kind of right in the middle. I watched this on after a really long day. But because it was so comforting, put me to sleep. Woke up, 10 minutes later, and it doesn't matter. You can watch any point in this movie and just get that like positive dump.
Right.
The ending's kind of cheesy, but I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's Brian and Charles streaming on Stars. It's worth like a $4 rent. Anyways, we got some streaming picks in the chat. Read here. Let's see here. So Heather says, Late Night at Terrace Lanes and Satanic Hispanics. I heard of both of those. Those are both Shudder releases, I believe. And I've heard good things about Late Night at Terrace Lanes. I haven't really heard a whole lot about Satanic Hispanics, but so that's a recommendation from Heather. Chris recommends I Saw the TV Glow streaming on Plex. Brianna, just so you know, Brianna watched that movie and she had to text me to tell me how bad it was. She texted me while I was at work and said, I fucking hate this movie. I hate it. I don't know why, but I hate it. And I'm sorry. No, that was We're All Going to the World's Fair. That was the movie before, from the same writer-director, before I Saw the TV Glow. So we're planning on watching I Saw the TV Glow soon because it's now out for streaming and whatnot. So I'll report back on that probably next week. Another one from Heather. Death's Roulette and Dangerous Game, The Legacy Murders are both trapped in a mansion and you have to violently get out, and we're both very fun. Angry Otter recommends Brainstorm from 1998. It's on Prime, Plex, and Tubi. Heather also recommends Brightwood and Enter the Fat Dragon.
What?
I don't know what Enter the Fat Dragon is, but I like the sound of that.
All right.
Let's see what else we got here. Sorry, I'm going to get rid of this here. So we're not talking about Brian and Charles anymore. So Christopher Walken is in that one apparently. Heather says she still has that Brainstorm on VHS. And then I think that's it. Some nice discussion in the chat though that everyone's having. Yeah. And then finally, my best recommend of the week is a movie called Tangerine from 2015.
I like the fruit.
Yeah, you like the fruit?
Yeah.
So this is streaming on a lot of places. You get it on Prime, Fubo, Hoopla, Hulu, Canopy, Netflix, and Paramount.
Very accessible.
Also Plex, Pluto, Showtime, Tubi, Vudu, and Zumo. Zumo Play with the X.
I'm going to be watching it on Zumo.
Yeah, go watch it on Zumo. So Tangerine is a freaking really wild and intense movie. This is directed by Sean Baker, who did The Florida Project. He did Red Rocket.
Based on the poster, I could see, because The Florida Project has a similar poster.
You're judging this. Tyler, have you ever heard Don't Judge a Book by its cover?
No, I've never heard of that.
Okay. Don't judge a movie by its poster. I mean, you should at least a little bit. But
I mean, look at it. Look at the Florida Project poster to Tangerine.
So one of them has a gigantic, it's the full frame is filled with a child running, and behind it is a couple of buildings against the blue sky. But you can barely see that. And then in Tangerine, it's a silhouette of two people way off in the distance with a sunset sky.
Yeah, it's similar.
Okay. Maybe it's because it's from the same director. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
But yeah, so Tangerine was, I think, Starlet came before Tangerine. That was, I think, one of Sean Baker's movies that kind of put him out there on the map. And I would probably call his type of filmmaking like almost like ultra realism, kind of like Kids or Gummo, where it feels like you're put into a situation of these people's lives and you're following them.
Okay,
in a very realistic, no hyperbole. Well, maybe hyperbole, but no like fantastic realism. No,
because when you're comparing a movie to Gummo, I'm just like, really?
Well, watch Tangerine.
Wait, really?
Yes.
They're killing cats in there?
No, they're not. But Tangerine is the story of. I'll just read the synopsis from IMDb. A hooker tears through Tinseltown on Christmas Eve, searching for the pimp who broke her heart. And these are two trans hookers.
Okay.
Their names are...
They're actually called sex workers now, Pete.
They call themselves hookers, so...
Okay.
Their names are Cindy, Sindee, and Alexandra. And in real life, Sean Baker found these two ladies living together. They were roommates. And
they were roommates.
And they were roommates, yeah. And in real life, and he had said they are such a couple of cards, such a couple of characters that he had to make a movie essentially about them. And in this movie, Alexandra had just got out of prison. She had jail. She spent 28 days in jail, and she comes out to meet her. Actually, it was Cindy when it was in jail. She came out and meet her roommate Alexandra. And they split a donut at the donut shop on the corner because she got no money. They just got to split a donut. It's like they're so broke. They got no money. Yeah. So we're only got one to split. And then at some point, Alexandra lets it slip that Cindy's boyfriend is cheating on her, Chester. Chester's cheating on her. And she lets it slip and Cindy's like freaks out. And she's like, what the fuck? That motherfucker's cheating on me. I'm going to find his ass. I'm going to find her ass too. What's her name? And he's like, I don't know, Dee Dee or Dina or Danielle or something. I don't know. And she immediately takes off. Cindy takes off down like Hollywood Boulevard or whatever on foot, dressed like she's about to work in the street, nasty ass weave in, running down the street, look like basically screaming at people.
Looks like a maniac.
It looks like she's absolutely crazed. And she's looking for Chester, and she's like, you motherfuckers know where Chester's at? I gotta find his ass. And the whole movie is her just chasing down Chester to basically give him what for, because they just got, well, I won't say anything. It's a really, really fantastically like hot, sweaty, gritty movie that takes place all in like one day.
Okay.
And at the same time, you're also following this Armenian taxi driver named Razmik. And you don't know why you're following him, but his story keeps getting cut back to. And the whole movie revolves around prostitution and transsexual, workers or transgender workers or whatever in the transgender community. And none of it is played as negative, which is good to see. In fact, at some point, one of the characters gets mad. He picks up a prostitute. And he gets mad that she doesn't have a dick. So
wait a minute, you don't have a bird?
He's like, what is this? She goes, that's a vagina. He goes, what? Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out.
Get out of here.
And he yells at her because she's like, you don't work here. This is not for girls. This is not for girls. And they call them, what do they call them? I think they call them fish, like natural women, born women assigned at birth. They call them fish.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the other prostitutes. It's a bizarre look at this weird community that is just super chaotic all the time, and you're just watching them like snort drugs and find the hooker and find this girl who's running around on his girlfriend. Yeah. You find the trap house where they're staying, which is like an apartment that they run out, and they're just like turning tricks like 5 at a time inside the apartment.
God damn.
And you're like, these people are living like this. And I know, I don't know how much of it is like actual reality or based on reality or based off of true stories, or if it's just all exaggerated for the plot. But there is it's a hard to describe sweetness, like tenderness to this movie that peaks in at very specific moments. And then you're right back into the chaos.
Yeah.
So this is another one. You don't need 10 minutes in this, you need about 3 minutes. If you get
Only 3.
if you get 3 minutes into this movie and you're like, this is not for me, turn back because it gets worse.
Oh, yeah.
But sure. I got in 5 minutes into the movie and I like visually, I out loud looked at Brianna and I was like, I fucking love this movie. This is so great. These characters are so fun. They're so fun. And you're just it's almost like when you're watching reality shows and you're like, man, I thought my life was bad. These people are a wreck.
Yeah.
So it's but again, there's a very weird hidden sweetness to the whole thing that when it shows, it is very effective. And the finale is super fun. There's a big apex, that kind of the swell that happens, and all culminates inside that donut shop that started, the whole movie started that.
All right.
So very, very fun. And again, you can find Tangerine on pretty much everywhere. Throw a rock and you'll be watching it.
Yeah.
Prime, Fubo, Hoopla, Hulu, Canopy, Netflix, Paramount, Plex, Pluto TV, Showtime, Tubi, Vudu, and Zumo. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, so that's all I got. Do you have anything else, Tyler?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. So Angry Otter says, no, do judge a movie by its poster because my movie poster is way better than my movie. LOL. Oh, speaking of which, Angry Otter, I need to get you to send me a message back on Patreon. You know, I sent some stuff out to you. I want to promote your movie. We'll get some links out in the show notes and point our listeners there.
Yeah,
listeners and viewers, because I know he's mentioned his movie, but let's see, here it is. Oh, they're talking about it in the chat. Name is Yorktown, 2011. Cool. Oh, he says it shouldn't be streamable anywhere unless it's pirated. So,
well, we need a DVD or something.
Yeah, let's figure out where we can get you hooked up with some views on this thing. So
we'll review it.
It's a literal miracle anytime a movie's made. We want people to watch it.
It is a miracle.
Yeah, much respect for that. So later on today, we're going to be reviewing the second half of True Detective season 1, episodes 5-8.
Yes.
And so that's if you're watching the YouTube live, stick around maybe 15 minutes. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. And if you're listening on the podcast stream or the YouTube Monday release, that episode will release on Wednesday.
Yes.
Cool.
All
right. So thank you to the cool ass yard dudes over on Patreon. That's Javier, Heather Sachs, Angry Otter, and Chris. If you want to support us on Patreon, hit us up, patreon.com/middleclassfilmclass, or just tune into the YouTube channel, the released videos, the live stream, whatever you do. If you're watching, it helps us in a big way. So until next time. Thank you for joining us. Join us very soon as we review True Detective Season 1, episodes 5-8. And then next week, we'll have Joseph back.
Yes.
And we're going to watch something. Oh, Kentucky Fried Movie. Yeah, from Heather.
Kentucky Fried Movie.
So follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/MCFC podcast, and send us an email, mcfcpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and follow us on Instagram at Middle Class Film Class. And please leave us a voicemail, 209-730-6010.
Hit us up on TikTok and YouTube at Middle Class Film Class. And I guess we'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
What in the hell do you think you're doing?
Late for class.
You are mine now. You belong to me.
Did you study for the test?
No more complaining. No more Mr. Kimble to go to the bathroom. Nothing. There is no bathroom.
Hello, classmates, and welcome to another episode of Middle Class Film Class. I'm your host for today, Pete.
And I'm Tyler.
And we are on this review episode. We're going a little off page because we got no Joseph here.
Nope.
We're paying off what we started last week. We're going to be reviewing True Detective, Season 1. Second half episodes, was that
5 through 8?
It's episodes 5 through 8.
Yeah.
It's a really good story. I never get tired of telling it. Legend shit, you know?
Tyler never gets tired of watching it.
Well, January the 3rd, 1995. I remember.
January the 6th.
For 7 years.
What do you know about him, Marty?
Good detective.
Doesn't care about making friends.
He's edgy.
Change. You're obsessive.
You're obsessive, just not about the job.
Just not about the job.
Just not about the job.
What's going on?
How many times have we had this conversation, detectives? Nothing ever changes.
Time is a flat circle.
This is a world where nothing is solved.
There is a war happening.
What have you been doing, Marty?
This is Case. You know the pressure we got on us.
You used to be such
There was a butt.
change guy.
This is all butt.
You know why the story's always the same, 17 years gone? Because it only went down the one way.
Everybody knows there's something wrong with them. Everybody's got a choice.
You sure you want to do this?
Not exactly. Everybody wants confession, but everybody's guilty.
All right. So, True Detective, Season 1, second half.
Yeah.
We pick up our story where our heroes they've killed who they think the bad guy is.
No, they do it in this episode.
Oh, you're right. This episode,
Yeah.
this is the raid.
So in episode 4, they're getting ready to, because
They finally met in the present day.
Yeah. Well, no, that happens.
No, they do. It's the very end of episode 4.
Oh, that is you're right. Yeah.
As he's like, you sure you want to do this? And they meet on the side of the road and stuff like that. I saw you follow me back there. And he's like, I was honking at you, of course. Of course you saw me.
Yeah. So, it leads up to the best 6 minutes of television history.
Yeah, this is episode 4.
Episode 5. That's the 6 minute.
No, that's episode 4.
That's episode 5. That is episode 5.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure I think
maybe
you're
I'm off. Maybe I'm off base on that. Then I don't know.
So here's the storyline of episode 5. Unable to make a deal with the Iron Crusaders, Cole and Hart follow one of them. Because we talked about the long take last episode.
Yeah, you're right.
Come on, Tyler.
You're right.
The listeners deserve better.
You're right.
This is your episode. You wanted to do this.
I do want to do it. I do.
Hey, what's up, Kevin? Kevin from Real Spoilers in the chat. He's like, what are you talking about?
All right, fine.
Kevin, you want to host this show? Come on. He's a professional podcast host. Professional.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah, so they do the bust.
Yeah.
And let's see here. So, unable to make a deal with the Iron Crusaders, Cole and Hart follows one of them to their meth cookout. Rather than call it in and request backup, they decide to raid the operation on their own. They face little resistance, but after Hart finds 2 children living in abhorrent conditions, they kill the only 2 men they find there. Yeah. Well, technically, they just kill the one.
Yeah.
And the other one blows himself up.
Yeah.
Last of Us style on the tripwire.
Right.
Before the review board, they claim to come under heavy fire and end up fighting for their lives. In the process, Reggie Ledoux and the other men were killed. They are commended for their bravery. Things subsequently get better for both of them, at least for a few years. Hart was promoted to detective sergeant and reconciled with his wife, Maggie. Cole received a commendation for bravery and got a girlfriend, Lori. In 2002, however, Cole gets information that the killer may not have been Ledoux. And in the present day, the detectives Gilbo and Papina are told the same story given to the board 17 years before. They reveal exactly why they're so interested in Cole.
And they were alluding to this, I think even from it was either episode 1 or episode 2 where Marty says, what, do you want to hear about the shootout? Mm-hmm. And then Russ says the same thing. It's like, what do you want to hear about?
If you want to hear it, yeah. It's going to be the same story because
So,
it's
like,
only one way it went down.
And that's why I really like the storytelling leading up into this episode is because you know some big shit's about to go down. Like, they keep alluding to it very subtly, though. Like, it's in the back of your head.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the focal point of leading up to it. Like, you know something's big is going to happen, but you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know the scope of it. And with episode 4, I was mistaken. I thought
This is where he goes on the raid,
right,
with the Iron Crusaders with Ginger.
Yeah, with Ginger. And oh my god,
I don't do that no more. I don't need no B&Es.
I don't do B&Es. Yeah, I'm so sick of talking to you like a man. Bam!
I'm so sick. You gotta get the whistle on there.
I mean, I swear to God, like, if there has to be one day where I can punch some man out and say, I'm so sick of talking to you like a man.
You can do that to me anytime you want.
No, I'm not going to do
Just
that.
hang out in the backyard and just fight each other.
No, it would be more like in a bar fight. Like, it would be a bar fight. I'm so sick of you talking to you like a man. I almost said talking to you.
Talking to you like a woman. I've never been in a bar fight, but I have been in a fight outside of a bar. Yeah. I don't consider that a bar fight because you got to be like, you have to be able to throw chairs and glasses and bottles of whiskey and stuff at people.
I mean, I couldn't do a bar fight though. I just couldn't do it.
Why? You just hype yourself up over it. Now you're saying you can't do it? I believe in you. I think
no, physically I could do it. But the bar I go to is a very delicate ecosystem. So
you don't have to be at your home bar. You don't get in a home bar fight. No, you want to go into the away team.
But I think I really like the payoff of like the subtle hints of Rust and Marty saying like, you know, there was like this huge gunfight. There's this huge gunfight and you don't know what's going to happen. And so leading up to it in this episode was very satisfying. And it kind of pulls a little bit more light on Rust's upbringing because his dad was a Vietnam veteran and there's this conversation where Rust talks to Marty, have you ever been hunting before? And then Marty says, yeah, I think about last year I got like some
10 point buck or something like that.
Buck or something. He's like, I'm not talking about sitting up in a tree house with what does he call it? It's like basically like a scent that you like lure in
musk.
Like, yeah. And
I'm talking about really hunting, tracking.
Just being so fucking condescending.
I mean,
that is hunting though. Like
that's hunting.
Like that is like
if you really want to get technical, fishing is also hunting.
Yeah,
but it's a very different thing.
Right.
Brianna's dad does bow hunting.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
The only thing cooler than bow hunting, like being more in touch with your masculinity,
strangling a deer with your bare hands.
I was gonna say knife hunting.
Oh, knife hunting.
You sneak up on the bear with a knife.
Just like
immediately after hibernation, though,
like Conan the Barbarian, just like jumping off of a tree.
Bear comes out of hibernation. He's like all gangly and barely has any strength. And
but you have to do the Arnold scream.
Yeah. And can you do it one more time? Yeah. Say there's a bear over there. And say I'm hunting a bear.
I'm hunting a bear.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
You have to be in the brush. You're like, what are you doing? I'm hunting a bear.
That's very good, Arnold. Can you give us another knife attack as Arnold?
But so I really I really like I just want you to stop saying odd shit. But I really like that the way that he tracks going into the meth.
Yeah, it's great. You can see the
lab.
Broken twigs and trees and stuff like that. And the grass that's flattened down.
You can see Rust like concentrated like on his surroundings, and he's really into like this like tracking hunting mode. And
what's the thing?
I think Matthew McConaughey did a very good job at portraying that.
The character is a weirdo, objectively a weirdo.
Oh yeah,
and
he speaks in poems. Like he speaks
in poems. He's bad at parties, but at the end of the day, as Marty says, he's a fantastic detective.
Yeah,
and when it comes down to this, it's like that's a man.
Yeah,
that is a MAN, capital M, man with 3 N's at the end. Man, just tracking, and it's not. He's not tracking a deer. He's tracking a pedophile, meth cook,
he's tracking
murderer. Yeah, the most dangerous game.
Yeah, the most dangerous game.
So they did that. That leads.
That whole episode is basically based on the situation that they were alluding to of the capture of Reggie Ledoux and Duwall. I think that was his name, Duwall or DeWitt or something like that. I think it was Duwall. Duwall's the meth cook, and you know what's interesting about the
Reggie Ledoux is Reggie Ledoux's the big dude.
No, Reggie Ledoux is the blonde-haired guy. I thought.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, no. Duwall is the meth cook. Reggie Ledoux is the blonde-haired guy who kept saying like the Black Star.
Reggie Ledoux is the cook, by the way.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he's the cook. He's the dude who's walking around his underwear with the gas mask on and stuff.
Oh, he's the cook. I thought it was the big, heavier set guy.
No. The big dude that leads him there, he's like, I ain't getting in this. We're not buying your shit. We don't need your shit. I already got my cook. And then he drives back and hides his stuff because the cook never leaves the property. Reggie Ledoux never leaves the property. He just stays there
because he escaped parole.
Does unmentionables to the children and just cooks drugs all day.
Yeah, so
what a fucking creep.
But here's the interesting thing that I kind of picked up on because I'm not gonna lie, I after we did the last episode, I went and watched the last episodes, like
the first four.
The last four.
Oh, last four, just immediately that same day.
Just immediately.
You said you watched Love Lies Bleeding that same day.
I did.
You sent me a message. You watched all those, and then you binged. Love Lies Bleeding, and then 4 hours of True Detective.
Yeah. I was literally just like sitting in front of my computer doing that. But anyways, but I did rewatch the last four again this week because, that cliffhanger on episode 4, it was hard to keep away. And so rewatched the last 4 episodes on that weekend and also Love, Lies, and Bleeding. And then
what's it called again?
Love, Lies, and Bleeding.
Oh, okay.
And then I rewatched the last 4 again just to, I don't know, I guess refresh my memory. It's not like I forgot about them, but I wanted to make sure I knew my shit. And
okay, wait a second. So you said you watched it immediately that day.
Right. Yeah, on that Saturday, last Saturday.
And then you watched it again?
And then I watched it again
so you watched it twice in the last... Okay, so 8 hours of True Detective this week. Which, it's good. I could binge that whole show in like 2 days.
Yeah.
But all that being said, Tyler, you have no excuse not to watch 2 movies a week.
I know. You're right.
After you watch 8 hours of True Detective and Love Lies Bleeding, did you still have a productive week? You felt edified and nurtured in your health?
I guess. I don't know.
What I'm saying is, did you have a terrible week because you spent so much time watching this stuff for the show? 8 hours worth of shows plus 2 hours for Love Lies Bleeding. 10 hours worth of content you consumed for this episode.
Yeah, no.
And you felt good, right? Good week?
Yeah, it's a good week.
So why can't you do that every week?
Well, you know what? That's a great argument. However,
okay.
So one thing I noticed about, and I'm just gonna be going through. I'm not gonna go through each episode, so I'm just
We're going through each episode.
Well, that's fine. We can do that, but like in an over encompassing way, all of the antagonists in this season of True Detective, have you noticed that they've all been like taller than our heroes? Like,
I don't think Reggie Ledoux was. He's pretty short.
No, he was taller. So was the meth cook.
The meth cook was tall.
And
so was the ultimate baddie, who they thought was the main guy.
The preacher.
What preacher?
Tuttle, the preacher. Tuttle.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
He would like they do a side by side shot. I think it was in episode 6 where Rust goes to interview him at his own like home base
compound.
church.
Yeah. He's talking to him about the outreach church.
Yeah, the Wellspring
program, and why that's not a thing anymore.
Right.
And he goes to get the files or whatever.
So they do a side by side profile of them while they're in front of the bay window, and he has like an inch or more on him than Rust. And then you look at the big burly guy that they meet at the bar. He's taller than Rust. And then Ginger is the same size as Russ, as far as I can recall.
Okay.
And then the guy.
I never noticed any of that.
The guy with the guy with the scars on his face. Childress. I can't remember. Oh, Earl Childress.
All right.
He's taller than Rust and Marty. So I noticed like there's kind of a pattern of the antagonist always being like having this like imposing presence in front of them.
That's cool. Yeah.
And
so can we get back to the storyline of episode 5?
Yeah.
So they did the bust, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Really tense. They're like both teaming through the double wide trailer or whatever it is out there, a little house or something they have on the property as the big dude is off in some storage shed.
Yeah.
And once they get Reggie Ledoux on the ground, he starts babbling on about black stars and your time is coming, and this is all happened.
I saw you in a dream.
I saw you in a dream. This has all happened before. Blah 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 blah.
Time is a flat circle. And my favorite line is where Rust has the gun like towards the bigger man. And he's like, "What is that, Nishi? You shut the fuck up." I want to say that to someone so bad.
Again, you can say it to me.
No, it has to be natural. Like, if
say it to me naturally.
Like, no, if someone like it has
next
to be.
Next time I'm drunk and pontificating at you. And
like,
I'm talking about life. And you're like, what is that, Nietzsche? Shut the fuck up, Pete. Shut the fuck up. I listen to you talk every week, God damn it.
I thought when I first watched the show where when Marty goes up and pops a cap in Reggie Ledoux's head.
I shouted out loud the first time and this time too.
I was like, "Oh!"
I was like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah.
He killed him. You think he's okay? You should call the ambulance.
But I like how like calm Rust was. Like when he saw that, he was like making a decision. He's like, okay, shit.
Yeah, Rust is dope.
And then the burly guy, he goes and he blows himself up with the homemade traps that they have around, which was funny.
Yeah,
I laughed at that.
That was also very shocking.
But Russ knew exactly what to do. He was like, okay, you got to get this handcuffs off him before his blood settles.
Yeah.
And like, we got to make this look legit.
I think
by happenstance, they find an AK-47 just sitting there.
Well, they
with a drum.
Well, yeah, that's the drug dealers. They're in the den of the drug dealers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny. It was just like, it was so readily available because you see Russ go into the trailer and then he just comes back out with an AK-47 with like a drum bear, like with a drum magazine, and he's just like
well, there's a parallel to a movie that we covered on the show years ago, Place Beyond the Pines, because in this there's a wonderful editing of this scene of this episode when they're basically Marty and Rust are getting ready to attack the property, and they're sneaking onto the property very quietly.
Yeah,
they're in sneak mode mission.
Yeah,
Metal Gear Solid mode.
Yeah,
and as they're doing that in on the camera, the voiceover of them at the parole board or the hearing, the summary hearing, and they're saying, we got noticed by DeWall and Reggie Ledoux, and they opened fire on us with heavy artillery automatic weapons, and they're slowly creeping onto the property. And you're like, oh, they're lying about this. And as they're at the very end, after both of them are dead and they're trying to stage the environment, Rust takes that AK-47 and just lights up all the spot where they came in, basically setting it up for the story that they're about to tell. And then you hear the VO again, and it's them talking to like the commanding officers and stuff, giving their statement of what happened at the event.
I think they call it like the shooting board or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And it's like that exact same thing happens in Place Beyond the Pines with Bradley Cooper when he kills, what's his name?
Ryan Gosling's character?
Yeah, but I can't remember his name. It's like
I can't remember.
Handsome Dan or something like that.
Handsome Dan.
And he kills him in that house.
Yeah.
And he's giving a statement, and Bruce Greenwood is his captain. And he goes, did he reach for his gun? He goes, he had a gun. He goes, but he reached for it, right? And he's like nodding his head. And he goes, I'm not sure. And he's like, he stops the tape and he goes, I'm going to do this again. And he presses record and he's like, he reached for his gun next, right? He goes, yes, he did. He reached for his gun.
Yeah.
And then he drew it and pointed at you, right? He's like, yes, he did. And then they continue the statement. So it's like being able to manufacture the events that happen in retrospect to paint the police officers in the best light. In Place Beyond the Pines, that was bad.
Right.
In this version, it's essentially you're rooting for them. You're like, fucking A, they did it,
Well, I mean, you have to, I think, plus for them being in a rural area where they were and rescuing 2 children that were being drugged and abused.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of not questioning the scene of what happened.
Oh, there's definitely questioning.
Well,
that's what the shooting board's for. But they're manufacturing their own story, which in this world, us, you and me watching the show, we're like, yeah, good for them. But at what point is there a line? Are they crossing the line? Like, we see both the good and the bad, but we don't really acknowledge the bad. Like, they are breaking the law by doing that.
Sure.
But who cares? That's like Dirty Harry. When Dirty Harry's fucking up those dudes and you're just like, good, he's a rogue cop. And then in real life, if you have a rogue cop, you're like, I don't know, I don't like rogue cops. That's not a good thing.
I mean, so I guess what my point is that if it was in a more liberal sort of city, state, it probably would have been handled differently. But with it being in the South, in Louisiana,
I think you're giving
child abuse.
I think you're giving police officers in liberal cities way too much credit.
I'm not.
Whether or not, if this was happening in San Francisco, it would be the exact same thing.
I'm just saying, you have to think of the context of it. It's 1995. It's in the deep South. You're dealing with child abuse and a drug lab. Of course, they're going to have to go through the formalities of.
I'm not saying they're not. All I'm saying is we're applauding them for doing this, even though they're breaking the law.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting thing to think about.
It is.
At what point do you stop applauding it? You know
I think what Marty did was not good, though. Like,
Where he killed Ledoux?
Yeah.
Fuck him. Kill him.
No, because
Fuck
he had
him. He's dead.
Because he was part of the sprawl. He was part of the sprawl. Like, he could have given information up.
Yeah, I guess.
So,
but he's not going to.
That's because if you recall in, I think it's episode 7.
Okay.
Where it was.
We'll get there.
It was episode 6.
We'll get there.
So yeah, let's go on to episode 6.
Okay, episode 6. Here's the synopsis. Marty tells Detective Gilbo and Papina that back in 2002, Cole started investigating something that he wasn't aware of. Their last case as partners was that of Charmaine Boudreaux, who killed her child. Yes. Cole gets a confession out of her, but Martin thinks it contributed to his deteriorating condition. Cole was in fact pursuing a lead about the Tuttle schools, an initiative to provide Christian education as an alternative to public schools. He learns that back in 1988, there had been accusations of child molestation at the school. Kelly, the girl he and Martin rescued from Reggie Ledoux in 1995, tells him of another case about another man with scars who made her watch while they did to the boy who was the prisoner with her. Cole's convinced that the killings are going unreported or unconnected and that they simply can't get everyone involved in the Dora Lane killing in 1995. When he starts talking conspiracy and the possible involvement of Billy Lee Tuttle, his commanding officer, Salter, shuts him down. In the present day, the detectives also question Maggie, now long divorced from Martin, about what Cole might have been up to in 2002. She had no contact with Cole since that time and has positive recollections about him. In fact, an incident involving the 3 of them led directly to the breakup of her marriage and the 2 detectives as partners.
Oh yeah, she did have a positive interaction
recollection with him.
Yeah, that was positive.
What'd you think about that scene, Tyler?
Oh my God, I felt so bad for Rust because
he got laid.
Yes,
he ruined his relationship with Marty.
So this is the reason why I felt bad for Rust, is because we talked about it on the last episode where Rust didn't like Marty because he had everything that Rust wanted.
Correct. He had the adoring wife. He had the children. Rust had that taken away from him when his daughter died in that car accident.
Exactly. And so if you recall in that scene where Maggie comes over and Rust had just been freshly suspended. And so
a man on the edge.
So he's blind drunk on Jameson looking at dead women.
Pictures of dead women in his house.
Pictures of dead women.
As you do on a Friday night.
With deer antlers on your card table.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's a regular Friday night for me.
Sure, right. Absolutely.
And
after riding the rails.
Yeah, after riding the rails. So she comes over and basically confesses because she finds the pictures on Marty's cell phone of Beth, who was the girl that he slipped her a 20 at that ranch, that prostitute ranch.
Okay, they're called sex workers, Tyler.
Thank you. Thank you for correcting.
Bitten by your own snake.
Oh, that's how we say it. Okay.
Yeah. Stung by your own tail.
Yeah.
Stingray style.
So she gets mad. She goes to a bar, tries to pick up a guy, and she couldn't do it because the guy was, he was soy cuck.
Soy cuck?
Yeah. And so she thinks to herself, well, I know a real man.
Mm-hmm.
I know a real man. Goes to Rust's townhouse and basically throws herself at him. And Rust, thinking, oh wow, like this is gonna be a new beginning, because he had a crush on Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
I don't even think he thought it that far through. I think he was just in an emotional state. He was already drunk. Doesn't have his wits about him. He's woe is me in his life right now.
Yeah.
And then this 10 out of 10 smoke show, Michelle Moynihan walks through the door and is just like, Marty's not treating me right. He never treats me right. And
he's doing it again.
Rust, yeah, exactly. He's doing it again. And Rust is like, man, fuck that guy. Because remember, my opinion is that Rust hates Marty.
Yeah.
I think that he has full and utter contempt for Marty. And he finally says, all right, that's fine. She's going to leave him. I'm going to give her a good and what for. And it's not his decision. She comes on to him.
Yeah, she comes on very thickly.
And I know it takes two to tango. But
she takes advantage of him.
In this situation, he's drunk, she's not. She is preying on him. This is rape. What? Rust was raped.
Oh my God.
Rust was raped. I'm saying it right now.
Okay.
I know that's a scary word, but that's what happened. Flip the roles.
Yes, I understand. I get it. So he does. So he gives it to her, but good.
Yeah.
And afterwards, she
best 1 minute of her life. It was like less than a minute.
It was like 45 seconds.
That's a new personal record for Rust, I think. I mean, if nothing else, he's efficient.
So, well, you gotta give him credit where credit's due. But I think
everybody has a different objective when it comes to sex. Some people, it's personal record speed.
Well, yeah. I mean,
one pump chump is that an insult?
Some people would say it isn't.
Yeah.
But
people are saying people are saying,
right, people are saying. But
man, you got two dynamite impressions this episode. Can you give me a Christopher Walken impression doing Donald Trump?
Well, they're talking about Joe Biden.
Oh, I just felt like I was feeling he's right. Chris, are you here in the room with us right now?
But going back to the sex scene, though,
okay.
I felt like Rust, like, yeah, he wanted to give it to her, but he didn't want her to leave. Like, he thought, oh, well,
no. He did want her to leave. The second it was done, he realized what had been done, and it probably didn't help that
she said, "I did this to hurt him." Mm-hmm. That was when I felt bad for Rust, I think he was very vulnerable.
Well, before she said that, though, he already realized how much he fucked up. And then she turned around and they made eye contact, and then she really put the nail in the coffin where she said, I'm sorry, it had to be someone that I knew would hurt him.
Yeah.
I tried to do it with the stranger. Pissed. Yeah, so. Good for besides the fact that she's taking advantage of Rust, good for her.
But the scene preceding...
For finally getting over fucking Marty. I hate that guy.
Yeah, Marty
sucks. He's the worst.
Yeah, he sucks. But the scene preceding... that sex scene,
proceeding or preceding,
or proceeding, I guess.
Okay, just curious. I didn't hear.
Where
she talks to Marty at the kitchen table.
Yeah, where she's at the dining table and she has a glass of wine, and she just nonchalantly just says, "I fucked your partner.
I fucked Ted." I mean Rust. Yeah, Ted Beneke, Rust, Cole, same thing.
And. Oh man, that was such a great very well acted dramatic scene.
She was very intense in that, and then he like, well, what are you saying to me right now? Which I think is the dumbest thing. I know that when you're being given information like that, you're not thinking clearly, but he's like, what are you saying to me right now? What are you saying?
I don't understand.
I don't understand what you're saying. He's like, she just said she fucked Rust. How spell? You need to spell it out. Draw a picture.
Yeah.
And he like lunges across the table. He shows his colors again that he's a piece of shit, and he basically almost strangles her.
No, and she's just like, do it,
you fucking coward.
Because then you'll have something to explain to your daughters.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, that is intense.
I know.
And so,
I mean, then they have the fight in the parking lot, which is another great scene.
Yeah.
I like parking lot fights and out front of a cop police station.
Mm-hmm. And everyone's egging them on too, like no one's stopping them. I like how the captain comes out.
Wouldn't you? If you work with the weirdo Rust and he starts getting in a fight with his partner, you'd be like, "Oh shit, Rust is fighting his partner out in the parking lot."
Well, yeah, I mean, I would be on the sidelines, but I like the
you'd absolutely be egging him on.
I like how the captain just comes out and is like, "You guys are all just standing here watching this shit go down.
Aren't you cops?
Aren't you cops?
Aren't you supposed to stop this shit?" Nah, it's fun though. It's fun, Chief.
And so I like how after the shootout, everything's like all good, you know. Rust
they're cool for a minute.
Yeah, they're cool for a minute, but like the downward descent towards like darkness like felt very satisfying. I guess satisfying would be the correct term I would use, because I mean, it's not like I want to see these people miserable, but I want the drama. So
then we get into episode 7, and episode 7.
That's kind of like when they're like pretty much in modern time.
Cole and Hart try to discover if a series of missing persons reports could be related to Dora Lang murders and the Tuttle family. Mm-hmm. So this is where they confront Reverend Tuttle. No, they confront not Reverend Tuttle, but the like old police chief that's now like a senator or some shit.
No, he's a sheriff of a parish.
Yeah.
Now.
He's
because Marty says something along the lines of, "Well, you can't arrest a sheriff unless you get the governor's permission in the state of Louisiana." Mm-hmm. So they could have probably did it, but because of the weird laws, they couldn't.
Yeah, and this episode, you also meet the owner of the bar that Rust is working at.
Oh, such a badass!
Yeah, Dumane's Delight or Dumane's Den or something like that. That's what it's called. And what's his name? Maggie comes in and visits him there for a minute, and she's talking. I know, you get out of here. You're classing the place up. Yeah. And
you just see him in the background.
I love he's just chilling quiet.
But he like has his head like in his arms like this.
Yeah.
Like just
Well, he's a broken man as well. He lost a child as well.
Yeah.
And and then later on in the episode, Marty comes in, and Marty and Rust have this new relationship.
Right.
Rust cuts him in on all of his clues. He's got this storage shed full of just looks like psychopathic material, but it's really just clues to this case. But it's an interesting point because if you're investigating a murder and you're collecting all this stuff, if you're a police officer, you have carte blanche. You can do whatever you want or whatever. But in the context of like a civilian doing it, anytime that you're trying to do something like that, you look just as insane as the people doing it.
Right. Which is why they had a spotlight on Rust, because he was showing up to all these crime scenes.
That was sloppy on his part. I thought that was interesting. Like he's there, and you'd think that he would be smart enough to not be immediately at the scene of the crime where they're taking photos and stuff.
Well, he's a drunk at this point too, so like he probably wasn't even really thinking. Like he had an obsession. No, and so he wasn't.
I don't think he is a drunk. I don't think he's a drunk.
What are you talking about? He's drinking the whole time in the past, like episode 7, episode 8. Like he has his flask or he has his beer, and he's always chain smoking. That dude is drunk the whole time.
Is he?
Yes. He might have his head on him, but again,
I know
he's affected.
I know he's drinking during
I
know he's drinking during the interviews, but I think that the point of that was to make him seem like a drunk, even though he's not.
Actually, the point of the reason why he was drinking during the interviews is because anything that he was saying on camera would be inadmissible in a court of law.
Yeah, he comes off as a drunk, as a lush.
So I mean that's just a theory. Like it's not really spelled out, but that's kind of like what people were saying, like online. Like, oh, that's the reason why he was doing it.
So they get together and they decide that they think they found something, and they
did find something because when they go into the storage unit, like after like they do their interviews, like they meet up.
Well, Rust already found that tape, and it's basically just a tape of children being abused.
Yes,
ritualistically, religiously. They have all the same iconography. They got the crown, the dudes wearing the crown and all that stuff. And thank God they don't show really any of it.
I mean, you can infer by Woody Harrelson's like acting
his reaction to it all is great. And then they get they get on the boat with Marty starts getting buddy with the sheriff.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey man, we should hang out. We should go golfing." And as he's golfing, he's asking him questions about this case.
Yeah, the Dory Lane case.
Yeah, the Dory Lane.
Because he was a lead on it. I think he was a lead on the case, if I'm recalling correctly. He was the lead on that case, but it was like the file was like made in error or something like that.
Well, and I'd say that's the one thing that I think is a detriment to this show, depending on how you watch it and the type of person you are, is there's a lot of different small moving pieces in the case, and it's almost like, well, now we just found this random case and this random little tiny clue that led us to here, and it may seem a little convenient on the surface, but if you're talking about the lifespan of these characters, it went from 95 where all the main shit happened up to the shooting. And then in 2002, 7 years later, is when he gets the hint that it might be connected to the Yellow King and all this stuff.
Because he interrogated that
one tweaker woman that killed her kids.
Yeah.
And then, but that one clue led him down an interesting path. And I think it's pretty fantastic the way they show that. And it's like they're just back to their normal life. And then this one small thing happens, and it is a domino effect that leads to finding the real killer.
Yeah.
But even if that seems a little overwhelming or a little convenient or whatever, if you just kind of switch it off, you don't have to know the difference between Dora Lang and Marie Fontenot and all that stuff. It's just like they're detectives that found a clue. They're leading to the next thing. Somehow it found him to this guy, and the finale that you're leading up to is really fantastic. But when Marty gets up buddy with that cop, he ends up on his boat.
Yeah.
And it's not Marty's boat.
No, I remember, I love that scene. Well, isn't that your boat? It's not mine. Not mine either. So they just essentially stole a boat.
Yeah.
They just stole a boat.
And then Robert Domain, the guy that owns the bar that Rust is working at, is hiding in the bushes as a fucking sniper.
Yeah.
And he goes, "I got a friend from way back when, sniper hiding out in the bushes. If you try to leave, he'll get you." And he's like, "Yeah, you fucking asshole."
And then he just raises his hand.
And he lights up the dude's car. It's Maserati.
I know it. Of course, it would be a Maserati too.
That's a weak ass car.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Like, if all of the cars to portray a personality on someone,
that's a good one.
A Maserati is gonna make you look like a piece of shit.
Well, because the other thing is, like, so for most people who may not know this, Maserati is manufactured by Ford. So essentially, most of like the Ghibli, which is that car, is basically just a high performance Ford chassis with a Maserati body on it. So you're spending double that you would on a like a Ford for basically just that demonic looking M. Pitchfork M on the front.
I don't think it was on purpose, but I would like to think it was on purpose that they chose a Maserati for this piece of shit guy who overlooked the case of Dory Lang being a missing person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it.
Oh, and then also before the sniper fire, they force him to watch the tape. And his screams are just
guttering.
Yeah, just haunting and chilling to hear that. It's a perfect example of a situation where they could have maybe shown something a little bit and then pulled back, but not knowing and just letting your imagination fill in the gaps is that much more effective.
Yeah, I mean, like, you think about the scope of the abuse that was happening, because I read up, there's a lot of subtlety with season 1 that you really, really have to pay attention to, like the small details. But the child abuse stuff that was happening, like in that videotape, all of those people, like, they're either dead or they don't do that shit anymore. So like the whole like cult aspect of it, Rust found out about it after the fact that it was like long gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why when he went to Reverend Tuttle's compound, and he was quote unquote bracing him about it, like you could tell like it like spooked him because he wasn't participating in that shit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had his trophy of like the videotape and like the pictures and stuff in his safe. But
hey man, that was just a phase. Leave me alone. I was in college.
Exactly. That's what it was. That's what it was though. It was just like a thing that happened and then they stopped doing that shit. But because they have such they have such influence in their community that they got away with it. Rust catches on to it. It was far too late. But if we're gonna get back with the guy with the scars, Errol Childress.
Errol Childress, yep.
He was involved in it when he was a kid, and it kind of fried his brain because like he was abused as well, and he kind of essentially took the torch and kept going on with it. But he was protected because of his namesake.
Yeah, because he was related to
right. So they knew he was still out there doing that shit, but they were like, yeah, well, you know what? That's just tradition.
Hey, you can't get old cousin Errol.
Yeah,
he's out there mowing those lawns, painting those houses.
Exactly, and plus he knows too much too. So like they didn't want to risk him like going to like authorities or anything. I mean, like it's a whole. That's what Rust was saying like in episode 7 when he shows Marty the
sprawl.
It's the sprawl, and that's so true. It is the sprawl. Like,
listen here, Marty, it's a sprawl.
And then, Marty's just like, that just sounds like conjecture.
Yeah, well.
Which, I mean, it does. Like, I mean, because you think, of course, like, you want to root for Rust because you believe him. When you said that you thought he was the killer, I was really surprised that you thought that. I did not think that.
That's what the two that are investigating him think.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, like, I had no
all I know is
inclination of him doing any nefarious.
All I know is that Rust has a checkered past. He's a fucking weirdo, and he's got depression that really drives him to do some interesting things.
Yes.
So I thought it's not beyond the realm of possibilities to say 17 years later, if he fell off the wagon and he went down a bad path and started. I mean, he's done drugs in the past. He's seen people flayed alive.
Yeah.
He's got some shit in his past. It's not beyond the realm of possibilities that he could have gone down an interesting direction. Right. I'm glad he didn't though, because his character is it's much better that he didn't go that way.
But so I can see Marty's perspective on Rust though too, because he speaks in riddles and he's just overall very weird. Like in all of the ideas or theories that he was proposing, like sounds like a conspiracy theorist. Granted, it pays off in the end because he proves that he was correct. However, like from a normal person's standpoint of view, especially like if you're like the captain of a police station and you're hearing all of this, like you're calling out like a really huge influence on that local community saying, oh, this guy is abusing children. He's a part of a cult. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You got to stop doing that.
It's like hot fuzz. It's like being able to say there's a murderer in this small town. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you high?
Yeah.
If the people around you don't believe you, you are taking a risk, like making that wild accusation about a very high figured person.
But what's interesting about the perspective of Rust, like at least from an audience point of view, is he's so charismatic with the way he talks, the way he composes himself that one of the detectives in the modern day, I can't remember their names for the life of me.
Kittle?
The one that Marty goes to says, I can't read your partner, but I can read you.
Pagania.
Yeah. When he goes up to him and he's interviewing Marty, he's saying, he's just manipulating you, man. Like you sound just like him. Like when he's like going up to him saying like, are you going to take this or what? Like when they eventually find out where their guy is.
All right, well, let's get into episode 8, the finale.
Yes.
So here's the long synopsis. Rust and Marty continue their search for the man with the scarred face. Marty notices that in the crime scene photo, one of the houses had been recently painted green, as in the green-eared monster. They locate the former owner who remembered having the house painted that year, and thanks to tax records, learn that the company was owned by Childress's family. They visit the late registered business address and descend into a hellish labyrinth from which they have to fight their way out to survive.
Yeah.
So great, great detective work. They see the scene, the crime scene. They see the fresh green paint. They hear the girls talk about the spaghetti-faced green-eared monster. And you're like, oh, maybe it's just paint. Maybe he had paint on his ears. Oh, he's a painter. Oh, he's painting this house green. It's a little convenient, but maybe that's just they painted all the houses green and that was like their service or whatever, Yeah. And you realize once they see who it is, you're like, that's the fucking guy you saw in episode 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
Mowing that lawn.
Mowing the lawn.
Yeah, and it's like, as many times as I've seen this, when I came back to episode 3, I'm like, is that the bad guy? Nah, that can't be the bad guy. He's just mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
And
the reason
the guy.
they do a very clever thing about hiding the scars on his face because he has facial hair in episode 3 when he's mowing the lawn where Rust isn't even looking at him either.
Yeah.
He's looking at the abandoned school.
Yeah. And then Marty calls him back immediately. Like, he doesn't get time to spend a whole lot of time with that guy.
Yeah.
And so they make their way out there. And before they even physically get out there, you get the interaction between Errol Childress, who's the guy with the scars on his face, and his sister wife.
Yeah, it's a sister.
Played by Ann Dowd. What? Can you believe that? That's Ann Dowd.
I had no idea.
Every time I watch this, I can't believe it's her. She's the friend in Hereditary, Joan. Yeah. She's also in she's been in a billion things. But she's a really, really fantastic actress in general. And her and him are so creepy.
They are.
I mean, they have this weird relationship. She calls it making flowers on me.
Do you want to make
flowers? You want to make flowers today?
We haven't done it in 3 weeks.
No, you
makes me sad.
She said you haven't made flowers on me in about 3 weeks.
Makes me sad is all.
I'm tempted to use that as a shorthand in real life, except for the context is so gross.
It really is. I mean, that set though for the finale, like at his house, it really felt gross.
Oh yeah,
it felt really gross. I felt bad for that German Shepherd, that poor German Shepherd.
I know. As soon as that door opened, he bolted out.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm
fucking out here.
I'm gone. These friggin' freaks in here.
Yeah.
You ever deliver to a house like that, and you're like, ugh.
Yes, I have.
Yes, I'm sure you do a lot.
No, not anymore. I did deliver to a house that reminded me of the killer's house. It wasn't even like a paved road. Like I was like on a dirt road, like going.
I'm more talking about in the house.
Oh, I didn't go in the house, but
you knock on the door and they open up, and then you get to look inside.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it kind of looked like that.
You ever peek in the house and go, "Hey, what's that?"
Oh yeah, of course. Everyone peeks. Everyone peeks in houses.
Yeah.
Come on.
You talk to them about it though.
What would I talk about? No,
I don't know. Whatever's in their house.
I'm trying to get the hell out of there because I feel like I'm gonna get killed.
Angry Otter is in the chat. He says, "Pizza." He was a pizza delivery boy in the '80s. He's seen some things.
Yeah, I have as well.
So I got a story. So before I went into auto body, I spent a summer selling alarms door to door.
Oh yeah,
home alarm systems. Yeah, in some of the rougher areas. And the guy that trained me, he said, and this is why I really can't do sales anymore, because you kind of have to like abandon a lot of your morals.
Oh yeah,
with sales. And I always said, I'm not gonna lie. But there were things that I would do that made me uncomfortable. And a lot of them were very beneficial to me, because I was kind of a shy person before, and I was kind of afraid to talk to strangers and afraid of rejection, like really afraid of rejection. And that summer, you have to knock on like 300 to 500 doors a day.
God damn.
And the goal was to get 1, maybe 2 yeses. 1 a day would be considered a win.
1 a day out of 300?
Yes. So that erased my fear of rejection very quickly. But the guy that trained me on doors before I got to go on my own, they have you knock with one of the like very experienced guys.
Yeah.
And he's like, your goal is to get inside the house. Don't even ask permission. Just walk right in. He like knock the door and say, hey, we're doing this, and then just walk right into the house. And I was like, I don't think that's, for one, I don't think that's kind of legal. And number two, why? They're going to be so they're going to be so mad at me. And like and he's like, yeah, you don't leave until you get the sale. First house you knock on your own, you have to get the sale. So don't leave until you get the sale. And the first house I knocked on, I actually sold the guy. And
nice.
And one of the techniques that they would teach you was you're just like, oh yeah, here's what we're doing. You know, we're going to give you the free alarm system. You just pay for the monitoring. And you're like, here, let's go do some paperwork at your table. And you walk right into their house. You don't have to wait for permission. You just walk in. And I did that a bunch of times. And you would be absolutely shocked how often that works. Like I maybe had 1 out of every 10 times that would happen that they would tell me, no. Or they'd block your way or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. And I was 18 at the time, you know. Now I would never do something like that.
Fuck no.
No, absolutely not. But, you know, you're like, yeah, this is just how the job goes. But usually you'd walk right in and you'd say, can we do some paperwork at the table? And you just walk right by them and you sit at their kitchen table and you pull out your paperwork and they're just like, okay, we'll just do paperwork then. You know, you're already here. And it was just so weird. But that first house that I sold, dude was Spanish speaker.
Yeah.
He spoke English as well, but Spanish was his first language. And his wife ultimately is the one that told him to buy it because she's like, oh, yeah, it's gratis. Okay, great. Let's take it. And while we were doing paperwork, he's like, hey, come with me to the garage. I got to check up on something. And he was making a gigantic pot of carnitas in the garage.
Oh, my God.
Huge, like a cauldron of carnitas.
The cauldron.
It was there's no other way to describe it. It was a cauldron. He had it in the middle of the garage, no car or anything in there. Just like this burner on the ground. And then
you just get like a ladle and you just...
No, he had like a wooden oar, like a giant stick. He was stirring it with like a witch's brew. And he said he was making a huge batch of it because his friend's daughter was getting married. And he was making it for the wedding, which would have been the next day.
It must have smelled like heaven
Oh,
in
it was
there.
so good. And then so after we were done with paperwork, he gave me a giant hunk of carnitas in a piece of foil with like 10 or 15 corn tortillas and just sent me on my way. I walked around the neighborhood chowing down on pork.
I'm like, okay.
That was it. I was done for the day. I was like, shit, I'm going to sleep at the park.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of reminds me of, regarding episode 8, where Marty goes up to the house. Mm-hmm. They finally drive up. And
we're a couple of surveyors. We got lost.
We're a couple of greenhorns.
Yeah, we got lost like a couple of greenhorns. We didn't use your phone.
And then the wife, the sister wife,
Betty,
was just an amazing actor.
Oh, she's great.
She's like, oh, we don't have it.
We got no phone.
And he's like, well, do you think I can get some water? And it's like, the water ain't good here. And then the mood changes.
Yeah.
And Marty's like,
I'm gonna kick that fucking door in.
And then Marty says, where's Billy Childress? Mm-hmm. And then that's like when it starts taking like a very dark turn. He's like, oh, old Billy.
Oh,
well,
he left.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
But he's everywhere or something along the lines of that. And then
that just leads them into.
Then he just like kicks in the door.
Well, that leads them into the chase. Errol's out in the back, and Cole.
Yeah.
Cole chases him down. They go through this weird series of tunnels or something like that.
Yeah, that was a little bit fantastical to me.
I think it's like a storage, some sort of storage facility for farming. At least that's what I kind of took it as.
That's what I thought too.
When we were in Portugal, we went to a winery and there was some old like walls, like stone walls that they had been there since like the 1700s or whatever, and they used it for storage. There was a bunch of like little mini caves in there.
Yeah,
and it reminded me of this.
Oh, okay.
So they go in there, and he's got all the crazy iconography and the little structures built out with sticks. It really is labyrinth-like. And at some point in the final chamber. First off, Cole goes in there and he sees this like galaxy swirling sort of black hole.
Yeah, because of his condition, like he like hallucinates, and for whatever reason, when he went in there, because he's in Carcosa, and so,
you know what Carcosa is?
I did look it up once, but it's like a plane of existence.
Carcosa is a fictional city in Ambrose Bierce's short story, An Inhabitant of Carcosa. It's also basically where a character from H.P. Lovecraft's, like what is it? What's the flying spaghetti monster? What's his name?
Cthulhu?
Cthulhu, yes. Cthulhu supposedly resides in Carcosa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he gets there. He's like taken aback by this vision he's having, and then all of a sudden Errol comes out of nowhere and stabs him in the chest. and he lifts his body off the ground.
Yeah, you can see like the massive man that this guy is.
He's a huge creature. Yeah, and then Cole, the badass that he is, starts beating Errol to death with his face.
Yeah, he starts
smashing his head while he's being suspended by a knife wound in his chest. Marty comes out of nowhere. Errol
shoots him a couple of times, but he's still standing.
Yeah, and then
he takes a couple of slugs.
Errol throws the knife at him.
Yeah, it was a hatchet.
He also gets wounded in his chest.
Yeah,
and then as Marty's about to be basically murdered,
bludgeoned to death.
Yeah, by Errol, Rust pops him in the skull.
Yeah,
blows his head top of his head right off.
And so now this is where it gets interesting, though, is because you have to remember Marty and Rust aren't cops anymore. And
Marty's a private eye and Rust is a civilian.
Rust is a civilian who just shot a guy in the head from the back. Is that considered? How is that self-defense? How is that self-defense if it's in the back of the head? That's execution style, man.
I guess, but if the guy already stabbed you in the chest and you know that he would immediately come back to kill you, you want to wait until he kills this guy and then turn around and then shoot him in the face?
It was an interesting question that I thought about, like the legality of it, because it is a
sticky situation because neither of them are police officers at this point.
Yeah, because when they were cops and they went and they raided Reggie Ledoux's meth lab, they have plausible deniability, and they're cops, so they're protected by the law.
Well, I think that the fact that Marty's a PI, it makes sense that they were investigating this.
Sure,
he's basically an investigator,
but I don't think he has the right of lethal force, though.
Again, if it's self-defense, and they both have near mortal wounds.
I don't know. Is Louisiana a stand your ground state?
Stand your ground and self-defense are two different things. That's two very different things.
How is it?
Okay. So, stand your ground law, also known as no duty to retreat or shoot first law, allows people to use deadly force in self-defense when they reasonably believe it's necessary to prevent imminent death, serious body harm, or violent crime. These laws remove the traditional duty to retreat before using force if a safe threat is available. So, stand your ground is like if you see someone charging at you, instead of like leaving or trying to run off or whatever, you can just pull your gun and shoot them. In this case, they've already been attacked by. I
see that line of logic.
It's a Venn diagram. There's a lot in the middle where the situations overlap.
He gets stabbed. They obviously get rescued by the cops.
I love their whole interactions in the hospital.
I do too.
And Marty comes to visit him. He's drinking that Slurpee or whatever.
Yeah, he's just like
Rust wakes up and he's like, "The hell are you doing here?" He's like, "Thanks, asshole."
Yeah,
so I came to visit you. You watching me sleep? I just showed up. You woke up. I was getting ready to leave. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, I love that. I actually really like the scene where the two cops are talking to Marty and they're explaining like, yeah, that was the guy who was behind all of these missing persons like for the past like couple of years. Mm-hmm. And then Marty stops him like, and he's just like, just stop. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Like he was already done with it. Like
that's true. And then Maggie comes to visit him, and he breaks down. He finally breaks down.
Yeah,
he finally
lets the curtain off of him.
All of the trauma and the disgusting things and the horrible things he's seen throughout this case.
Yeah,
and the years that it's dragged on. I can only imagine how much that's poisoned his mind and his soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and then
you get basically the final interaction between Rust and Marty, where they're outside the hospital. He brings them a pack of smokes.
Yeah, and they really. What are you engaged? Are you proposing to me? I laughed at that.
Yeah, and then I think at this point, they finally have understood each other.
Yeah,
they finally get it.
I think that in what I got from that last interaction as well is that they finally became friends.
Yes, I 100% agree with that.
Because I think based on the trauma that they went through, there's no other person that's going to understand him the way that they understand each other.
It's like war veterans when they serve together. They're they're brothers at that point.
Yeah, I think, and I recall when Rust was saying outside of the hospital, he said, "We didn't get them all, Marty." And then Marty says, "Yeah, we didn't get them all, but we got ours." Meaning that Marty recognizes that, yeah, there's a bigger conspiracy behind this, but there's no way that they can. There's just no. It's futile at that point to even try to uncover something like that with all the politics and
they
people in power. Like
they made an impact.
They exposed what they could.
Yeah. It's like,
and that's what Marty was just trying to convey to us. It's like, yeah, I know there's something bigger out there, but we did our part.
Yeah, that's right. So that's it.
That's right.
That's right. There's others out there, Marty, but we got ours.
Yeah, I felt really bad for Russ too, because he was saying like, I shouldn't be here right now. I felt like my dad and daughter's presence when I went out.
That whole bit is great, and if you haven't seen the show, and if our jack jawing about it for 2 hours or so, 2.5 hours between these two episodes is not enough to convince you. Call to action right now. Go to Max, HBO Max, aka Max, the worst name streaming service on the fucking planet, and watch True Detective season 1. By all accounts, season 2 and 3 not worth really investing your time. Maybe it is, but they're not going to compare to this.
Yeah. I think this stands alone.
Yeah.
But I mean, season 2 and season 3, I enjoyed them for what they were.
I haven't seen them. I'll take your word.
I mean, it's
one day I'll watch them. I like Vince Vaughn and I like Colin Farrell.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, they really blew their load on the first season. They really blew their load on the first season.
They showed their hand.
Because because you're expecting that same quality in the other seasons. Granted, I think season 3 probably like matches that same quality.
Really?
It's a little bit more of a slower burn.
Okay.
And the story isn't as compelling, but the acting is incredible. But I mean, just do how I did it. The only thing I knew about True Detective before I watched it was that 6-minute tracking shot through the projects in episode 4. I watched that, but that was like years ago. Before, I think I was just like really bored one day, like on a weekend, and I was just like scrolling through Max, and True Detective came up, and I was like, you know what?
Wow, look at this. Season 3, the first episode, Jeremy Saulnier directed it.
Oh.
He's the guy that did Blue Ruin, Green Room, Murder Party, and Hold the Dark.
Wow.
I really like him, so I think I'm going to have to watch that now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the good thing about this series, too, is like you don't really have to know anything about the previous seasons. Like it's an anthology season or anthology series. So,
and season 3 has Mahershala Ali, Carmen Ejogo, and Stephen Dorff.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a slow burn, but it's
Scoot
good.
McNairy. I like him too, and Ray Fisher.
Yeah.
All right, so we did it.
Season 1.
You feel satisfied? You got to talk.
Yes.
About True Detective on this show,
and
we didn't berate you. I didn't berate you. In fact, we encouraged it.
Yeah. Well, so True Detective season 1 is going back into the cupboard for another 365. I'm not going to revisit it again because, like I said, it's like a fine wine. You only take it out for special occasions. So another 365 until I start
crack open another bottle of True Detective season 1.
Yeah.
Listeners and viewers, what should Tyler's next obsession be?
Oh, geez.
We've had Danzig has been an obsession for a while. We've had
Danzig,
Golden Girls, X-Files,
Indiana Jones, True Detective.
Yes.
We'll see.
I think that's about it so far.
Yeah.
So we need to figure out what your next one is. Watch The Kid Detective. See if you get obsessed with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. There's also another great emotional breakdown scene in that movie, too.
Is there really?
When it all finally hits him, what happened.
I'll take your word for it.
Don't take my word for it. Watch it yourself. So anyways, that's that. Anything else you wanted to share?
I think we covered it all.
I think we
covered all the bases of it.
So next week we're going to go back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yes.
Joseph's going to be back. It'll be all three of us, and we're going to be reviewing Heather, our cool ass yard duty Heather. It's her pick.
Kentucky Fried Movie.
And I know nothing about this.
I don't either.
I chose to stay away from everything.
Yeah.
But she's going to call in. She's going to be on the show.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, she's going to call in and talk to us about
Sweet.
what the decision was, all that stuff. Oh, Heather's there. She says, can't wait, settle in, buckle up, have a ball. And the capital of Nebraska is Lincoln. I'll take your word for
it.
So that's gonna be a good time. So
right on.
Thank you to everybody in the chat, Angry Otter, Heather, aka Dork of all dorks, two of our cool ass yard duties supporting. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. And until next time. Thank you for joining us for the last 2 weeks as we review True Detective Season 1, split right down the middle. Follow us next week as we review Kentucky Fried Movie from Patreon Heather.
Kentucky Fried Movie.
Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/MCFC podcast, and send us an email, mcfcpodcast@gmail.com.
And follow us on Instagram at Middle Class Film Class, and leave us a voicemail, why don't you, at 209-730-6010. Follow us on TikTok at Middle Class Film Class, and go into our show notes to find all of the links there.
That's right. Do it up. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next time.